We got a whole lot of racing to talk about after this. I just want to thank everyone for coming out today for this big decision in NASCAR, better known as Indy-gate. And after much consideration and deliberation with everyone in NASCAR, we have come to a verdict. And as it reads, we in NASCAR find Kyle Larson not guilty of putting the Indy 500 before the Coca-Cola 600, therefore granting him a waiver to continue for the 2024 NASCAR Cup Championship. Now, I do have time for a couple quick questions here. So, yes, over here. Yeah, why did it take so long to come up with a decision about the waiver? More horsepower is not the answer. What? Yes, over here. Now that this waiver has been granted, will there be more stipulations moving forward? 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 6.
But what the hell?
One more. Why are you answering these questions in ways that are making people more confused? Yes. Thank you. That's all we have for today. Thank you.
3, 2, 1.
What's up, everyone? Todd Brown, That Racing Show. Thanks for dropping by for this pit stop segment. Yeah, man, I had to start out with a little something different there because all this talk about waivers and charters and everything else here over the last couple of weeks. There's just been so much of it. So I wanted to change it up so it wasn't so monotonous to hear the word waiver. And hopefully we won't hear it again for a while right now. It'd be great to see a year go by in the Cup Series without somebody needing a waiver for any reason. So hopefully we won't be hearing about all that. And it's also going to be cool to see if any stipulations do come or what happens with this scenario moving forward. But for me personally, I'm done talking about it. I'm over that, and just want to put that in the rearview mirror. But I got a lot of things to talk about here. I'm going to talk about some Xfinity drivers, some things going on with Joey Gase, Frankie Muniz, and also Jeremy Mayfield in the news again. But I want to start out right now with talking about the guy who got it done this weekend at Portland Speedway in Xfinity Series, and that was Shane Van Gisbergen. I mean, what a cool win. What a cool way for him to take the victory, and what a cool burnout. I mean, that was pretty wild to see him out there just drifting around the racetrack, passing people after the win like this sideways. So really cool. And I'm going to say, I love what he's done for the sport. Coming in here, not even 20 races across the different fields in NASCAR, and already got a win in the Cup Series and Xfinity Series. So that shows the level of talent that SVG has, and it's great to see him be in display in the United States with NASCAR racing. But I'm going to say I'm kind of sad that he's not running the Cup race at Sonoma this weekend. Just seemed like he would want to be in that car for this race, but not going to be running the Cup Series out there this weekend. He'll return July 7th at Chicago. He'll be defending that win from last year, the inaugural win in his inaugural race. I wouldn't be surprised to see him put it in victory lane again. But still, he's going to be out there doing some work in the Cup Series this weekend. Secondary spotter for Will Brown, who will be making his debut in the Cup Series for RCR. So, going to be an interesting story to follow right there with that. And SVG, he was out there a couple weeks ago at Sonoma getting some seat time with Chevrolet in the Wheel Force car, doing some testing with that. So, getting a little extra time out there prior to this race, and now getting some time up there with the spotter. So, all of it, I think, just stuff that's going to help benefit him throughout the season. And now, with him getting this win here, and especially if he gets another win in the Cup Series before the end of the year, this is such a big debate right now. Who's going to get that seat at Trackhouse? Obviously, 4 drivers. And if they get this other charter, only going to be 3 seats. So I think SVG's throwing his name in there to go, you know what, put me in that car full-time next year, and let's go run for the playoffs and the championship. So something that'll be interesting to follow. Now, I want to get to the Cup Series, and then we'll get to the other subjects here. But I want to start out with this right here. Look at this little ride right here. Rain-X on the side of that car. I love this. I just love seeing Rain-X on the side of there. This is very reminiscent of me back in the ARCA days when I was over there with Bill Venerini. And this brings into questions, oh, man, why didn't you do this at the throwback race? You should have had Rain-X on the throwback race and put that yellow car out there with the blue numbers. I could see that number 9 out there just looking sharp with this old paint scheme, because everybody loved that old yellow paint scheme right there. And you can take a look right here at 21-year-old whippersnapper following, I believe that was 1993 at Talladega. But yeah, some fun times with Bill back then. And man, Hendrick, make that happen. Put that yellow car out there with Rain-X at the throwback race. Be really cool to see. But now let's get to the race. We're going to cover this really quick here. Christopher Bell, running so well right now, and coming off a win, sweeping the stages there to start the race. Looked like he was going to be in for at least the battle for the win with Ryan Blaney there at the end. Look at these two right here. This was some great racing. Unfortunately, Christopher Bell suffering some motor issues right there. And it looked like Ryan Blaney was going to take that victory. And then Ryan Blaney running out of gas with 1 lap left. This is just unbelievable bad luck for both of these guys. Seems like they're getting some Martin Truex Jr. luck with this situation right here, which hopefully all of these guys change. But speaking of Martin Truex Jr., Martin putting that bumper there, helping out Christopher Bell after the motor issues. And it was really interesting because the car sped up. He was able to pass cars like this, able to stay in the top 10. So really interesting teamwork there. I was worried for a moment that might be a little manipulation of the race that was going to be called on them, but obviously both cars under their own power. So that didn't come into play. But still, unfortunate days for Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell. These guys are showing their toughness right now, especially them Fords. And Austin Cindric putting his Ford in victory lane. Really cool for him, because so many people have brought this up lately about him not getting a victory in that car. It's expected to win if you're in that 2 car. And he was able to go out there and secure that win. I want to say, man, that is one of the baddest rides that there is out there. Always like that paint scheme. Looks like a little Tron ride or something, but really good race for him. And then we got to talk about the Kyle and Kyle show out there. This is where that bonus point comes in, because look how many times that comes down to a point or two that decides so much in these playoffs. So that's why Kyle was out there running for that. And it was really interesting as well to see Kyle Busch following the race be a little bit more reserved. I expected him to be a little bit more upset, but was quite reserved with this right here. We're seeing different sides of Kyle here lately. Said after the All-Star race, he's tired of getting run into, tired of being run over. And so it's going to be, again, interesting to see how Kyle drives other people moving forward throughout the rest of the season. But now I want to get back over here to the Xfinity Series really quick. And this deals with Frankie Muniz. Obviously, the actor, Malcolm in the Middle, turned race car driver, not having a good run. And it's really interesting because he was saying that he needed to go home after this weekend and evaluate his mental status with racing, evaluate his future. Obviously, very disappointed. This past weekend, not able to even qualify for the race. Blew a motor in practice, and just having a bad weekend all around for him. But this shows, again, how you can be successful in something else, but not be able to switch over to something, especially racing, and have success like you would kind of expect somebody coming from Hollywood to do in this situation. But that's what makes SVG that much more great, because he's able to come over here, get in these cars, and do amazing things, which obviously is different from acting, 100% different from acting, but still, really, really neat to see Frankie go, I'm going to go home, take some time off, and just evaluate things. I think that's the right thing to do instead of just forcing the issue. Maybe go run some late models again and run up front, get that enthusiasm back, and come back. Now, I also want to talk about his car owner for this past weekend, Joey Gase. Everybody remembers Richmond, Joey getting into that little skirmish out there and pulling that bumper cover off and tossing it across the racetrack. And with that, Joey got a $5,000 fine. And this is really cool because Joey took that bumper cover, autographed it, and put it on eBay with a $3,000 reserve. And unfortunately, it looks like it wasn't able to sell, though. And so, this is something that's really cool. Somebody got a cool piece for the wall. That's a good conversation piece right there to, you just know the stories that would go along with this. I might have to text Joey and see if he's got rid of it yet, because if not, Might have to throw this on the show here a little bit more to try to get rid of that for him. But interesting that somebody could have this, and might check into that a little farther. But now I'm going to finish this out with one guy who I do like to follow on this show. If you follow me in the past, you know I like to talk about this guy and keep up with his racing. That's Jeremy Mayfield. And Jeremy out there getting the win this weekend. First win in his own car. I love this for him. Jeremy obviously been running all different series. Also promoting out there at Carteret County Speedway. So heavily involved in different forms of racing. And this past weekend was able to go out there, secure the victory in the first race of the doubleheader for the Grand National Super Series. And if you're not familiar with this series, they run two 50-lap mains. And really cool series. A.J. Hendrickson getting the win in the second race. These two always battle so well together out there on the racetrack. And what's cool about this is you can watch these races live on the Grand National Super Series YouTube channel. You can check them out, look them up, Grand National Super Series. They stream these races live on YouTube. And, man, just some good racing, some good short track racing that you can check out and just take in some of the people, some of the drivers in this series, because there's different guys right now that have been running this the last couple of years who are now moving their way up through the higher ranks of racing. And there's also a lot of guys who were really high up in the other forms of racing who run this series as well. So great series to follow. But anyways, what do you think about all this stuff we talked about here today? And man, I love your comments. Want your comments on everything. I'm glad to be back on this here. I know I was a little late getting everything this week. I have been under the weather and just so happy to be back doing a show. So I hope you comment with me. And man, let's keep this racing talk alive. And if you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button down there. And once again, let's talk some racing. Let's have some fun. That's what this show is all about. And man, love it when we get to converse about things like this. But anyways, hope everybody out there is having a great week. And as always, we'll see you at the checkered flag.